Time now is 6:28 on this Tuesday morning. The city of Kingsville recently unveiled some updates to the community about one of its oldest buildings. It includes a new logo to be used on merchandise, public works vehicles, and business cards.
There's also a bell tower in representation of the university, because they're also another huge part of our identity. And right in the middle, you'll see the running W representing the King Ranch. We are home of the King Ranch. It is King Ranch land that makes up Kingsville, and that's who we're named after.
And that's Tourism Director Janine Reyes. She says that the city's train depot is an important part of the city's history. First opening its doors on July 4th, 1904, it's been preserved as a museum. Victoria Balderrama learned more about some much-needed improvements the historic building received.
In Kingsville, this is the building that has stood in place for 118 years. About 158 miles of track connected Corpus Christi and Brownsville when it was a fully functioning depot, helping the small town of Kingsville in South Texas flourish. Nick Harrell is the third generation in Kingsville. He says his great-grandfather first arrived in 1908, working for the railroad.
Grown up around this, it's all history to me.
Harrell's family is a big part of that history.
And so in 1916, my grandfather started Harrell Drug Company.
Over 100 years later, the Harrell Drug Company is still open. They've been in the same building for 90 years, selling prescription medicines and running a soda fountain in the same space. Not changing much of how business is ran, Harrell says it's important to preserve his family's legacy.
I think it's very educational for people to find out how we got here and how far along we've come.
That's the same mentality Harrell applies to the entire city of Kingsville. By joining the Claiborne County Historical Foundation, Harrell makes sure the 1904 Train Depot Museum is maintained.
That grant that they were able to use to do maintenance work because the building hadn't been painted in 20 years.
For almost 2 months, updates and repairs were done inside and out of the Train Depot Museum. Janine Reyes, the Director of Tourism, tells us a fresh coat of paint can go a long way for a building that's 118 years old.
We already had budgeted about $35,000 for the inside of the building, dormers, some of the structure that just need to be readdressed. We redid the air conditioning system inside of there. That's a very costly project.
Completing work inside, the city also used $12,000 of COVID-19 relief funds to paint the outside of the train depot. A $47,000 project to keep the history alive in the heart of downtown Kingsville. Reporting in Corpus Christi, I'm Victoria Balderrama, Chris 6 Sunrise.